welcome. You've probably heard the term the cloud 1,000 times, right? It sounds kind of mysterious, this place where all our digital stuff just lives. Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain and really demystify what cloud computing is all about.
So let's start with something super simple. You snap a great photo, you upload it to your favorite social media app, and then what? Where does it actually go? It doesn't just float around in the air, right? It has to be stored somewhere. But where is that somewhere?
You guessed it, the answer is cloud computing. It's this invisible backbone of our entire digital world. It's the engine that powers pretty much everything, from your photo libraries to the apps you use every single day.
Okay, so what is it really? Let's get past the buzzword and break this incredibly powerful technology down into a simple, clear definition.
At its absolute core, cloud computing is all about getting IT resources, things like computing power, storage, databases, delivered to you over the internet. So instead of buying and running your own giant, expensive physical servers, you just access them from a cloud provider. And here's the real game changer, the pay-as-you-go pricing. You only pay for what you actually use.
Now, for something to truly be called the cloud, it has to have 5 key characteristics. These are kind of like the secret ingredients. Let's walk through what makes the cloud, well, the cloud.
First, everything is delivered over the internet, so you can get to it from anywhere. Second, it's on demand. Need more power? Boom, you get it instantly. Third, providers pool all their resources to serve tons of customers at once, which is what makes it so darn efficient. Fourth, and this one is huge, it's elastic. So think of a shopping website on Black Friday. It can automatically scale up to handle the crazy traffic and then scale right back down when things quiet down. And finally, you pay for what you use. It's just like your electricity bill, but for computing power.
And this is where you really see the massive shift. The old way, a company had to buy, manage, and maintain these huge, expensive server rooms. They had to guess how much traffic they'd get at their busiest moment and buy hardware for that, which was just super inefficient. With the cloud, you just rent what you need, you scale automatically, and you let the provider worry about the hardware. This frees up companies to focus on what they do best, building amazing applications, not managing a bunch of metal boxes.
All right, so the cloud isn't just one single thing. It's actually offered in 3 main layers, or service models. You've got IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. A good way to think about them is as different levels of a pyramid. So at the very bottom, the foundation of the pyramid, you have IaaS, or Infrastructure as a Service. This is the most basic layer. The provider gives you the raw building blocks, things like virtual servers, storage, and networking. You get the most control here, but it also means you're responsible for managing more stuff, like the operating system and your applications.
Moving up a level, we get to PaaS, or Platform as a Service. This is kind of the middle ground. The provider handles all the hardware and the operating system. They basically give developers this perfect, ready-made environment to just start building and deploying their apps without ever having to worry about the messy stuff underneath.
And at the very top of the pyramid, we've got SaaS, Software as a Service. This is the layer that most of us use every single day. Think about your web-based email or any online collaboration tool. You just log in and use the software, right? That's because the provider manages absolutely everything in the background. The software, the platform, the infrastructure, the whole shebang.
So we have these 3 layers, IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. You know, the best way to really get the difference between them is to ask one simple question. Who's responsible for what?
Let's actually break that down, because the answer totally changes depending on which layer of the cloud you're using.
Okay, this chart lays it all out perfectly. First thing to notice, no matter what, the provider always handles the physical hardware. But look what happens as you go from left to right, from IaaS to SaaS. The provider takes on more and more of the work. In IaaS, you manage the operating system and the application. In PaaS, you just handle the application. And by the time you get to SaaS, the provider is managing pretty much everything. But, and this is so important, what's the one thing that's consistent? You are always responsible for your own data and who can access it.
So which one should you choose? Well, it really just depends on what you need to do. IaaS is perfect if you need total granular control or if you're trying to move a big existing application over to the cloud. PaaS is an absolute dream for developers who want to build and launch new apps super fast. And SaaS is the go-to for everyday software that just works right out of the box.
Now, the cloud is not a static thing. It is constantly changing, constantly evolving. So what's next? Where is all this headed? Let's take a look at 3 of the biggest trends that are shaping the future of the cloud right now.
First up, AI integration. This is a big one. Cloud providers are building artificial intelligence right into their platforms. This AI can do things like automatically manage resources, predict a huge traffic spike before it happens, and constantly optimize performance. So, what does that mean for you? It means the apps and services you use every day just get faster and more reliable, all without a human lifting a finger.
Second, companies are realizing they don't have to put all their eggs in one basket. They're using what's called a multi-cloud strategy, which just means they're using services from different cloud providers at the same time to get the best of all worlds. This is great for them because they avoid getting locked into one vendor, and it's great for you because it means less downtime. If one cloud has a problem, your favorite app can just keep running on another one.
And finally, sustainability. Let's be real. The giant data centers that power the cloud use a mind-boggling amount of energy. Because of that, there's a huge push for green practices and energy efficiency. And this isn't just about good PR anymore. As our digital world gets bigger, making it greener is absolutely essential. And you're seeing providers actually compete now on who can be the most environmentally friendly.
And that all brings us to one final, fascinating thought to leave you with. As AI gets more and more deeply woven into the fabric of the cloud, automating everything, optimizing every little process, are we heading towards a future where the cloud can just completely manage itself? It's a pretty wild question, and the answer is going to define the next chapter for this amazing technology. Thanks so much for joining me.